Hi. I'm Detective X. In 2017, a serial murder stunned the entire Japan. 9 people were killed and stored in a tiny rented apartment. 9 severed human heads and 240 body parts were found in coolers and large containers, covered with cat litter. The 9 victims were murdered between August 22nd and October 30th. The murderer had almost gotten away, until a reported missing person led to the discovery of this spine-chilling serial killings. Takahiro Shiroishi is the monstrous murderer who has been dubbed the Twitter killer, as he used the popular social media platform to scout for gullible and suicidal young women. He was a resident of Kanagawa Prefecture, Zama City. After Aiko Tamura, a 23-year-old Tokyo resident, went missing on October 21st, her brother frantically looking for clues to her whereabouts. He hacked into her Twitter account and uncovered disturbing messages of suicide, and exchanges with a suspicious Twitter user. That user was Shiroishi disguised as a suicide guru, offering assistance to end people's misery. The police used a decoy who pretended to be suicidal, to arrange a meetup with Shiroishi. On October 30th, the police hid and observed in secret. When they confirmed Shiroishi was the guy last seen with Aiko at the train station through CCTV, the police instructed the decoy not to turn out. Thinking the person stood him up, Shiroishi returned to his apartment, unaware he was being tailed. After he got home, the police knocked on his door. A horrible stench spurted out when the door opened. The police asked, "Where is Aiko Tamura?" Caught off guard, Shiroishi stuttered. He pointed to a big cooler near the entrance. "She is there." Opening the cooler, the police were revolted by the stench that greeted them. 2 severed heads were found buried in cat litter. The police immediately raided the apartment. They found a total of 9 severed heads and 240 dismembered body parts, kept in 3 large coolers and 4 containers. 1 container was empty, which the police believed it was meant for the 10th victim. In an attempt to conceal the smell from the decomposed bodies, Shiroishi used cat litter to fill the boxes. Shiroishi was arrested on the spot, and his apartment was immediately cordoned off for the homicide investigation. Based on the forensics, 8 women and 1 man, aged between 15 and 26, were murdered and stored in the boxes. 2 victims were dead for 1 to 2 weeks, and the other 7 had been dead for 1 to several months. The first murder took place in August 2017, 4 in September, 4 in October. The victims were identified by DNA analysis. The last victim was confirmed Aiko Tamura, who went missing. Most of the victims were students. They are all from the prefecture near Tokyo. The youngest victim was 15 years old, and the oldest was only 26 years old. Takahiro Shiroishi was born on October 9, 1990, in Kanagawa Prefecture, Zama City. He has an elder sister whom he was close to, but grew estranged when his parents divorced and the mother moved out with his sister. They hardly visited or contacted him. His father was always busy and absent from his life. So he yearned to leave home and be financially independent. Shiroishi had always been quiet, reclusive and introverted. He participated in some school societies but didn't excel, nor did he have much interest in any particular fields or subjects. His academic result was mediocre. After graduating from high school, he found a job in a local supermarket, fetching around $1,300 per month. But this salary couldn't satiate his addiction in pachinko and slot machines. Soon he quit for a higher paid job, which is to scout and pimp women for prostitution. In February 2017, Shiroishi was arrested by the Ibaraki police for violating the Occupational Security Act. He was put on probation. Since losing his job, Shiroishi began researching and posting suicidal content online, which garnered a good following. Beginning in March 2017, Shiroishi used multiple Twitter accounts to actively befriend women who expressed suicidal thoughts. In one, He posed as a suicide guru skilled at helping people end their lives. In the other, he cast himself as a forlorn man who wanted company for his misery, seeking out others with whom he can enter into suicide pacts. Matter of fact, Shiraishi had never intended to commit suicide but had used it as a way to lure more victims. To ensure his victims would not back out at the last minute, he arranged to meet them at the train station near his house before returning together to his apartment. There, he fed them alcohol, tranquilizers and sleeping pills, before assaulting and raping them, and eventually killed them by strangulation. Shiraishi dismembered the bodies in the bathroom. The flesh and internal organs were disposed of as garbage, but heads and bones were kept, out of fear that he might get caught. The police found hand saws, rope, hammer and knives. These tools were stained with the victim's blood. Blood stains were also detected in the fridge. As Shiraishi took more time to dismember the first two victims, he stored the bodies in the fridge. Subsequently, the other victims were killed and dismembered within the same day. When interrogated what was his motive to kill, he said it was for money and sex. All of the victims, except one male victim, had been sexually assaulted. After killing, he would nab the victim's cash. The killing spree began in August 2017, when Shiraishi moved into the rented apartment. This apartment is located in Zama City, southwest of Tokyo, facing the Odakyu-Odawara Line Railway, at a strategic location with convenient transportation. It is a maisonette with a small kitchen and toilet. His first victim Miura Mizuki was a 21-year-old woman, whom he had met online along with her male acquaintance. She ended up helping Shiraishi rent this apartment, and loaned $4,500 to him for rental deposit. To avoid paying back the loan, Shiraishi drugged Mizuki and raped her, before strangling her to death. To cover up his crime, he later killed Mizuki's friend Nacho Nishinaga, when he checked on him about her disappearance. It is unimaginable to sleep, eat, live in an already confined space, with human remains decomposing inside. Based on the neighbors, there is no soundproof system in the building. Facing Odakyu-Odawara Line Railway, the frequent trains passing through create thunderous noise, causing them to turn up the TV volume. A neighbor said she had seen Shiraishi carrying a large garbage bag in the middle of the night. His garbage seemed bulky and heavy. They did catch whiffs of foul smell from his unit, but never once did they suspect anything, because the neighbors generally thought he was quiet and decent. The case was tried by the Tachikawa branch of the Tokyo District Court. It took several years from the prosecution to the trial due to the large number of victims and the large amount of evidence. During the long trial, Shiraishi did not contest the charges against him, although his lawyer attempted to reduce his sentence, arguing the suicidal thoughts expressed by the victims indicated their consensus to die, coupled that Shiraishi might be suffering from mental illness. However, after 5 months of psychiatric assessment, Shiraishi had been confirmed mentally sound. According to Shiraishi, he was pursuing his own happiness by killing, which fulfilled his sexual desire and at the same time took the victim's money. While there was a sense of guilt, he said that guilt faded in no time. In the final trial, Shiraishi stated in his final statement, "I should be sentenced to death. No matter what the final sentence is, I will not appeal." Shiraishi, now 30, pleaded guilty to all the charges against him during the trial. Presiding Judge Naokuni Yano said, "None of the victims agreed to be killed. The defendant was found to be fully responsible, as he sentenced Shiraishi to death." The prosecutors said in closing arguments that Shiraishi's crimes deserved death, adding, 9 young lives were taken in such a short span of 2 months. After the arrest of Shiraishi, the Japanese legal department of Twitter added a new term of use. It is forbidden to promote or encourage suicide or self-harm. Violators will have their content removed or account suspended. The killing stunned Japan, triggering the government to look into introducing new regulations. Summing up, the judge said the case had provoked great anxiety in society, because social networks are so commonly used. Japan has long battled one of the highest suicide rates in the world. Figures have dropped since preventative measures were introduced more than a decade ago, but there have been signs that rates have been rising again lately. People who are suicidal do not want to die, they just have problems they can't solve, or an existence too hard to deal with. When you feel like giving up, give yourself a reason to hold on. I'm Detective X. See you in the next video.